This is K9WLW with another video for D-Star on the Kenwood D74. I had a few people on the reflector that were curious about how to add their personal hotspot into a DR memory. I just finished a video a little while ago about the advantages of having a DR memory and the quick and easy command and control of your hotspot with nothing but the radio on how you can navigate from one reflector to another. And not only the REF reflectors, but you can also go to XRF, DCS, and XLX reflectors if you have a Kenwood D74. Again, this is specific to the Kenwood D74. In this video, I will show you how you can add your personal hotspot into the DR memory so that you will be able to use that command and control to QSY to various reflectors and whatnot with nothing but the radio. The trick is setting up your DR memory mode or inserting a memory of your hotspot in the DR memory mode. That will give you the full command and control of your hotspot that you need in order to QSY wherever you want to go in the D-Star world with nothing but the radio and the hotspot. You won't even need your browser. So in order to add a D-Star DR memory for your hotspot, obviously you have to pick a frequency, which you can program with your hotspot. And I'm sure most of you at this stage have already been there and done that. So I'm just going to pick a random frequency and a random call sign and just give you a quick demonstration on the various steps of what you need to do in order to put a DR memory in with nothing but the radio. No computers, no RT software, no cables, no anything. Just your hand and your radio. Okay, first thing you want to do is you want to go to the menu, and it's menu number 210. That is the World Region Select menu. Now, I'm in the United States, so this could apply to wherever you are in the world. So I would go to North America. I'm in the USA, so I pick USA. And I happen to be in Florida, so that's call zone 4. 4 calls are the common calls here in this state. But you can pick whatever zone of the world and or country or whatever that you live in. And once you've found that, you then hit the enter key after you've highlighted it. And this is a list of all the preloaded or previously loaded 4-land United States D-Star repeaters. Now the Kenwood has up to 1,500 slots of repeaters available, and they may have programmed anywhere from 11 or 1,200 or 1,300 or whatnot repeaters in there from the factory, or you may have downloaded it through some software, but there should be quite a few slots still available. It has a 1,500 DR memory slots available total, which is twice as much as the ID51 or the ID31 handheld. By the way, those only can handle 750. Okay, now what I did in this particular case is I added my 2 hotspots in the very bottom. When you first go into a zone, it starts with the state with the beginning of the alphabet in that zone, and Alabama is the first state in 4-land. So I inserted my hotspots at the bottom of 4-land. So I went up from the top and it rolls around to the bottom. I have my open spot 2 right here, and then at the very bottom I have commander spot, which is another hotspot that I currently have. But you'll see it goes through Alabama, and then each city in alphabetical order. That's the way it was pre-programmed. But I inserted my 2 hotspots at the very bottom of the 4s. Notice how it ends with Virginia, which is towards the end of the alphabet. That's the end of the alphabet for 4 land in the United States. I just simply put the hotspots down at the bottom so I know where to find them. Okay, let's say we're going to add a hotspot, or you've never had a hotspot added before. Okay, what you want to do is you want to find the spot where you want to enter it, highlight it, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hit the menu button. This allows you to add, edit the data of existing memories, or move a memory up and down or to different slots. Or you can delete one with a clear. Let's say you just want to destroy one because it's no longer valid. You can just clear it and bang, it's gone. We're going to add one here. So we add, highlight the add, hit the enter key. Okay, you have both a name and a subname. Okay, generally for the name, you can call it whatever you want. You can call it open spot 2, you can call it hotspot, you can call it zoom spot, whatever you want to call it. So you just highlight the name field, hit the enter key, and here you just dial up and punch in with your keypad or your VFO knob letters and numbers to your liking. To make this video quicker, I'm going to just punch a couple of keys. Okay, I'm not, again, this is just a gibberish name, and I'm going to enter it. Okay, JMW, just to be quick. Subname is generally where you put the state. Now, again, in the prepackaged memories, the name is usually the city. The subname is usually the state. So you can do the same thing to type your state, or you can leave it blank. It isn't really necessary as long as you know where to find it in the menu. Now, this is where information gets critically important. Callsign, RPT1. This you enter, you highlight and then hit enter. Okay. Here you want to punch in what your call sign is. This holds 8 characters, no more and no less. So you type in your call sign. In this particular case, I'm going to just pretend that my call sign is W1. This is a fictitious call sign, but you'll get the idea. W, tab over, spin the knob, or you can use the touch tone keys to dial up the number. W1, tab to the right. I'm going to put in W1A, B, C. Again, this is a fictitious call sign, but in this case, you would want to put your actual call sign. Some call signs are 4 characters, some are 5, and some are 6, depending on the length of your call sign. And I've actually seen some 7-letter call signs in Australia. Longest I've seen so far. I hope there are never any 8-character call signs. That would be a problem for D-Star. Okay, so we have 5 here. Tab all the way to the right until you can't go any further. You know that's the 8th slot. Once you know you're in the 8th slot, you want to make sure that after your call sign in the 8th slot, this is critical, put the letter B. We use B because most hotspots are on the 70 centimeter band, and it's our protocol with D-Star that 70 centimeter repeaters are normally on B module. In the case of a personal hotspot, if it's a 440 hotspot, which almost all of them are, it's just usually a good idea to put B there. Some hotspots can operate on 2 meters. You might want to put a C there. Some hotspots might operate on 220. I've heard of a couple DVAPs that do that. I don't know if they still make them, so you can make up a letter. But anyway, I normally, for 440 frequency or a 70 centimeter hotspot, you put the letter B in the 8th character. Once you've got it there, you hit enter. That's the call sign RPT1 field. It must be your actual call sign with the letter B recommended in the 8th character, and it must be in the 8th character. This is critical. Then you scroll down with the VFO knob or the down arrow, and the gateway RPT2, also critical. Highlight it, hit the enter key. Now you must dial up your call sign again. In this case, I'll make up the fictitious call sign. It's got to be exact as to what the one in RPT1 was. So W 1 A B to the right again, C, and then I got to keep tabbing to the right until I hit the wall. That's the 8th character. We're not going any further. This letter is absolutely critical here. It has to match your call sign, and this one has to be letter G for gateway. This G is critical. If you don't put the G there, or you put it in the 7th character or the 6th character or in the wrong spot, or the call sign doesn't match, you'll be transmitting all day and nobody's going to hear you on the reflectors or on the gateway. So just remember, call sign, 8th character B, if it's a 440 hotspot, is generally the best practice. But in the RPT2, your exact call sign again, make sure you start all the way to the left, because I've seen some people actually space accidentally and do it, and it won't work. These are critical, so just make absolutely sure that you start to the left, call sign with no spaces, then you go blank spots if needed, and 8th character, critical, 8th character, B in RPT1, G for golf in RPT2. That will get you into the gateway with your hotspot. This is an area where many people have gotten burned and literally ripped their hair out because they couldn't transmit on the reflectors. Okay, now the pressure's off if you've got it right. See how it says W1ABC space space B, W1ABC space space G. Again, 8th character is critical for the B and the G. Call sign has to match, so make sure they match. Make sure they start all the way on the left side wall, not a space in. As long as those are good to go, then you can move on. Lockout. Leave that off. You do not want to lock out your repeater or your hotspot, because then you won't be able to find it when you're looking for it in the to select menu. So make sure that's off. Scroll down. Frequency. This is critical. I hope by now you've already picked a frequency. For those of you that don't know where to pick a frequency, from what I've read online in the United States, it's recommended with many hotspots to pick a frequency between 433 megahertz and 435 megahertz. That way you won't get in the satellite subband or cause interference to many possible satellites. Some hotspots, not all, will also work between 445 and 447 megahertz. That's an area of the band that's also designated for Simplex on 70 centimeters in the United States. Again, this doesn't apply outside the United States. Please know your band plan to know what frequencies you can use for hotspots. But here in the United States, 433 to 435 is recommended, or somewhere between 445 and 447 is recommended. Once you've picked a frequency, it might not be a bad idea to just tune your radio VFO in FM mode and listen for quite a while and see if you hear any kind of activity. You know, like an automated station or something. A repeater you didn't know about. And as long as it's quiet, you're probably good to go. All right, well, for this demonstration, I'm just going to pick a frequency of, you hit enter. And with the Kenwood, it actually lets you pick the 1000 frequency, even though it won't transmit there. So you'd start off with a 0. I'm going to pick 4, 3, 3, 2, 6, 2, 5, 0. Most of us are used to 25 kilohertz frequencies or channels, if you will, on the 440 band. For digital modes, a lot of these repeaters are going to the new Splinter 12.5 kilohertz frequencies. The reason I recommend one, again, it's not a requirement, is there's less activity on these 12.5 splinters than there are on the 25 kHz channels. Again, your idea is to go somewhere where no one else is. So that might help you go one step deeper into the unknown of unused frequencies. So I just picked 433.26250. Once you've got your frequency dialed in, hit enter. Now, this is where things can get dicey, particularly if you're using an ICOM radio. It isn't as critical on the Kenwood as it is on an ICOM, but just for general purposes, I'm going to strongly recommend that you take the shift and either pick plus or minus, not off. If you pick off on an ICOM radio and go through all the steps and finish it, it'll load, but then you won't be able to find it. It puts a lockout on that so that you can't select that frequency after you've gone through all this labor. So just for general practice, I recommend picking a plus or a minus. I usually use plus. Okay, the next step, scroll down, is your offset. Now remember, ICOM radio, you must pick plus or minus, because if you pick Simplex, you're going to have a major problem. Kenwood, not so critical, but once you've picked plus or minus, you have to pick an offset of all zeros. You're tricking your radio into thinking that you're using a repeater with your call sign. Your hotspot is a repeater with your call sign, your own personal one. And it just so happens that your repeater has even though it's a positive or negative offset, it has a 0 offset. It is Simplex. So make sure it's all zeros. Hit enter. Okay. Now, this is something that I recommend. This isn't a must, and since you're already watching the video, it's not necessarily critical, but it will be helpful. And I'll show you later in the video what I mean. I recommend, before you start this process, actually getting your GPS on and getting your exact GPS coordinates and entering them. It starts off with position accuracy. You have invalid, approximate, or exact. If you leave invalid, you don't have to enter them, and you can skip this. But once you know your exact GPS coordinates at your home location, punch in exact, hit enter, and dial next latitude. It'll let you do north and south. You can dial your degrees north, your minutes north, and then I believe your seconds, and even tenths of a second, which is really small. I'm just dialing one at random, but again, you want to know your exact ones. And assuming you do, enter your north or south latitude in there, enter, go down to the next menu, your longitude. Of course, longitude is either east or west, depending on where you are in the world. Those of us in the USA are generally west. And I'll just dial one up at random, degrees, minutes, seconds, tenths of a second. Hit enter. Okay. Then you go to your UTC time zone. This is how many hours above or behind, ahead of or behind of Greenwich Mean Time or Zulu time or UTC time you are. For Eastern Time United States, I put minus 5 hours. So just spin the VFO knob until you find minus 5 hours. Central Time, minus 6. Mountain Time, minus 7. Pacific Time, minus 8. Alaskan Time, minus 10 or 9. And then Hawaii would be minus 10. Anyway, most of you will be able to know what your minus or plus offset is in your time zone. I don't compensate for daylight time. Again, you have to change the clock on this radio and on most radios when we change our clocks to daylight or standard. But for general purposes, I just pick the time zone as it would be in standard. Eastern Standard, minus 5. Enter. So everything's finished. It is all entered, but we're still not quite done. Okay. Now that with the information, you can kind of scroll over it and review it. And after you're done, you'll notice in the lower right-hand corner it says Write. W-R-I-T-E. Just hit the dual A-B key right below it. And now you'll see that JMW, that gibberish thing with the WABC call is now right there. Now again, I'm not going to use that one, but that was how to enter it. Now, quick way to find, and this is why I suggested putting your exact GPS coordinates. If you turn your GPS on and you want to find your repeater, okay, now that you have it in DR memories, you just hit the down arrow for from select, and you have a repeater list where you can scroll through all of the lists and go through the regions of the world and so forth and dig for it that way. Or with the GPS in, provided you turn the GPS on, you can just hit nearby repeaters and it'll search. And you'll notice my commander spot came up here on 0 miles because I happen to be at home as we speak. There's another repeater, 80. Well, it gives you like the 20 nearest. And like a Tampa one there is like 9.1 miles away. There's their frequency. Okay. There's my open spot 2. So once you find your hotspot, the one you want to use, you just find it, hit enter, and it loads it in the from field. See where it says open spot 2? And there's the frequency. And that is how you program your hotspot into a DR memory. Now, you may have more than one hotspot at one point or another. Make sure if you get a second hotspot that you want to use for D-Star, that you get a different frequency. You cannot have 2 hotspots on the same frequency. They will cause a looping situation and you will not be popular on the reflectors. Again, that is a must. If you add a second or a third or a fourth hotspot, make sure they're all on different frequencies and you have a different name for them. Anyway, that is how you enter in your hotspot as a DR memory in your Kenwood D74. I know this was lengthy, but it was very important to show the details of it. It was a lot of work, but it's well worth it. From the previous video, I clearly demonstrated how you can quickly command and control your navigation from repeaters or to various reflectors on the fly with nothing but the radio. Anyway, that's it for this video. In another upcoming video, I'm going to show you some different features on what else you can connect to besides reflectors. Yes, you can actually connect to a repeater, whether it be a local repeater or a repeater across the world in the D-Star network, and just talk to local guys from your location over the gateway. I'm going to show you how to do that in the next video. 73s, please feel free to leave your comments. If you have any questions, please email me at cq2meters@yahoo.com. 73s, this is K9WLW.